I never thought my last fishing trip to Silver Lake would end with me sitting in the passenger seat of a sheriff's truck, heart pounding so hard I could barely breathe, watching him turn to me with eyes that held something I couldn't name, something that terrified me more than any badge ever could. But I'm getting ahead of myself. The morning started like any other Saturday in late September, the kind of morning where the air smells like pine needles and damp earth, where fog still clings to the lake's surface like a secret it's not ready to tell. I'd been coming to Silver Lake since I was a kid, but this was the first time I'd come alone. No college friends, no distractions, just me, my fishing rod, and the kind of silence that makes you confront all the thoughts you've been running from. I parked my beat-up Honda at the North Trail entrance, the only car in the lot. Perfect. I needed this, the solitude, the space to think, or maybe to stop thinking. I wasn't sure anymore. I grabbed my gear from the trunk and headed down the familiar path toward my favorite spot, a rocky outcrop where the water runs deep and the fish are plentiful. The trail was overgrown in places, branches reaching across like they were trying to hold hands. I pushed through, boots crunching on fallen leaves, and tried not to think about the conversation I'd had with my roommate Marcus 3 nights ago. "You've been different lately," he'd said, leaning against my doorframe at 2 in the morning. "Distant, like you're carrying something heavy." I'd laughed it off, told him I was stressed about midterms, but Marcus knew me too well. We'd been friends since freshman orientation when he'd helped me carry my mini fridge up 4 flights of stairs in the August heat. He saw through every deflection, every careful smile I'd constructed. The truth was, I had been carrying something heavy, something I couldn't name, couldn't acknowledge, couldn't bear to examine too closely. I reached the outcrop and set up my gear, casting my line into the still water. The sun was climbing higher now, burning off the fog in lazy ribbons. I watched the ripples spread from where my lure had broken the surface, concentric circles reaching out and out until they disappeared into nothing. That's when I heard the engine. The sound of a truck coming down the access road, which was strange because that road was usually gated off. I turned and saw a white F-150 with a light bar on top rolling to a stop right next to my Honda, County Sheriff's Department. My stomach tightened. I wasn't doing anything wrong, I had my fishing license, I was in a legal spot, but there's something about seeing a police vehicle that makes you immediately inventory all your possible crimes, real or imagined. The driver's door opened and a man stepped out. He was tall, maybe 6'2", with broad shoulders that filled out his tan uniform shirt like it was tailored for him specifically. Dark hair, cut short but not military short, maybe 30, give or take. He adjusted his duty belt and started walking toward the trail, moving with the kind of easy confidence that comes from knowing exactly who you are and what you're doing. I turned back to my fishing rod, trying to look casual, hoping he was just checking the area and would leave. But I heard his footsteps on the trail, heard them getting closer. "Morning," he called out. I looked over my shoulder. He'd emerged from the tree line onto the outcrop, and now I could see him clearly, sharp jawline, green eyes that seemed to catch the light, a small scar above his left eyebrow that somehow made him look more approachable instead of intimidating. "Morning," I replied, keeping my voice neutral. He came closer, stopping a respectful distance away. "Catching anything?" "Not yet, just got here." He nodded, surveying the lake with an appreciative expression. "Beautiful spot, I don't usually see anyone out here this early, or alone." There was something in the way he said "alone" that made my pulse quicken, not threatening, just observant. "I like the quiet," I said. "Me too," he smiled, and it transformed his entire face, made him look younger. "I'm Deputy Logan Hayes. I do regular patrols around the recreational areas, just making sure everything's secure." "Everything's good here," I said. "I've got my license if you need to see it." "Nah, I trust you." He glanced at my car in the distance, then back at me. "That your Honda?" "Yeah." "Saw your parking permit, Northern State University." "That's right, senior year." "Good school, my little sister just started there, freshman." He crossed his arms, and I noticed how the fabric of his shirt stretched across his biceps. "She's studying environmental science." I didn't know what to say to that, so I just nodded. There was a pause, not quite awkward but charged with something I couldn't identify. "Listen," Logan said, his tone shifting slightly. "I don't mean to interrupt your fishing, but I'm about to make coffee in my truck. Got a thermos and everything. If you want a cup, you're welcome to join me. Mornings get cold out here." It was a simple offer, friendly. The kind of thing small-town cops probably did all the time: build rapport with the community, be approachable, but something in his eyes, the way they held mine for just a fraction of a second longer than necessary, made it feel like more. "I don't want to be any trouble," I said. "No trouble at all, I've got time before my next patrol." He gestured toward the trail. "Plus, I could use the company, gets lonely out here sometimes." I reeled in my line, telling myself I was just being polite, that it was normal to accept coffee from a friendly deputy, that the flutter in my chest was just caffeine anticipation and nothing more complicated. We walked back to his truck in silence, our footsteps sinking without planning to. He opened the passenger door for me, which struck me as oddly chivalrous, and I climbed in. The cab smelled like leather and pine air freshener with a faint undertone of cologne. Clean, masculine, the kind of smell that made you want to breathe deeper. Logan circled around to the driver's side and pulled out a thermos from behind his seat. He poured 2 cups with practiced efficiency, handing me one. Our fingers brushed in the exchange just for a moment, and I felt that touch like an electric shock. "So," he said, settling back in his seat and turning slightly toward me, "what brings a college senior out here alone on a Saturday morning, no wild parties to recover from?" I smiled despite myself, not really my scene. "No," he studied me with those green eyes, and I felt seen in a way that was both uncomfortable and exhilarating. "What is your scene?" "This, I guess: quiet places, water, trees, things that don't require small talk." "And yet here you are, making small talk with me. You brought coffee, that buys you at least 10 minutes of conversation." He laughed, a genuine sound that made the space between us feel smaller. "Fair trade, so what are you studying?" "English literature, concentration in creative writing." "A writer," he said it with interest, not dismissal. "What do you write about?" I shrugged, uncomfortable with the question. "Whatever comes out, lately not much of anything." "Writer's block." "Something like that." Logan took a sip of his coffee, his eyes never leaving mine. "Sometimes when I can't figure something out, I find it helps to just sit with it, not force it, let it come to me when it's ready." There was wisdom in that, but also something else. An invitation to talk, maybe, to share whatever was weighing on me, but I wasn't ready, might never be ready. "How long have you been with the sheriff's department?" I asked, deflecting. 3 years, moved here from Phoenix after I got out of the military. Army, 4 years, did my time, saw some things, decided I wanted something quieter, something that let me help people without all the— He trailed off, his expression darkening slightly. "Let's just say I needed a fresh start." "This seems like a good place for that." "It is." He turned more fully toward me now, one arm draped over the steering wheel. "But fresh starts are complicated, you know. You bring yourself wherever you go, all your history, all your mess. Sometimes the quiet makes it louder." I knew exactly what he meant. The quiet did make things louder, made you hear all the thoughts you'd been drowning out with noise and activity and careful distraction. "Yeah," I said softly, "I know." Our eyes met and something passed between us. Recognition, maybe, the sense that we were both running from something, both seeking something, both carrying weight we weren't ready to set down. The moment stretched and I should have looked away, should have finished my coffee and thanked him and gone back to my fishing. But I didn't. I stayed there in his passenger seat, holding his gaze, feeling my heart do this stuttering thing that made no sense. It was Logan who finally broke the silence. "I should let you get back to your fishing." "Right, yeah." I drank the last of my coffee too quickly, burning my tongue. "Thanks for this." "Any time?" He paused, then reached into his console and pulled out a card. "That's got my direct number. If you're ever out here and need anything, or if you just want to talk, give me a call." I took the card, my fingers brushing his again. "You give your number to all the fishermen you meet." He smiled, but there was something vulnerable in it. "Only the interesting ones." I climbed out of his truck, my legs feeling unsteady. As I walked back toward the trail, I heard him call out, "Hey." I turned. "Come back next Saturday," he said. "Same time, I'll bring better coffee." It wasn't a question, it was an invitation. And despite every instinct telling me to decline, to keep my distance, to not let whatever this was become anything more complicated, I found myself nodding. "Okay." His smile was like sunrise. "I didn't catch any fish that day, couldn't focus. My mind kept returning to the truck, to those green eyes, to the way my pulse had raced when he'd looked at me like he was seeing something I'd been hiding even from myself. When I got back to campus that afternoon, Marcus took one look at me and raised an eyebrow. Who is he? What? Don't what me, you've got that look, the one you had after. He stopped himself, but we both knew what he'd been about to say. After Drew. Drew was my roommate sophomore year, my best friend, the person I'd stayed up with until 3 in the morning talking about everything and nothing. The person whose laugh made my chest ache in ways I couldn't explain. The person who'd introduced me to his girlfriend over spring break and shattered something in me I didn't know could break. I'd never told Marcus, never told anyone, how I'd felt about Drew, how I still felt sometimes in quiet moments. How seeing him happy with someone else had made me realize something about myself I wasn't ready to face. There's no one, I said. Marcus didn't believe me. I could tell by the way he crossed his arms and leaned against the kitchen counter, waiting. I met a cop, I finally admitted, sheriff's deputy, he was patrolling the lake. And nothing, we had coffee, he was friendly. How friendly? Marcus. I'm just saying you've been in your head a lot lately. If someone makes you smile like that, maybe it's worth exploring. He's probably straight, he's a cop, and I'm not. I stopped, the words catching in my throat. You're not what? Marcus's voice was gentle now. I couldn't finish the sentence, couldn't say the words out loud, because saying them would make them real and I wasn't ready for that, might never be ready. Marcus sighed, okay, but for what it's worth, you're allowed to want things, you're allowed to be happy. I nodded, but I didn't believe him. The week crawled by. I tried to focus on classes, on my senior thesis, on anything except Saturday morning, but Logan's card sat on my desk like a question I couldn't answer. I picked it up a dozen times, thinking about texting him, then setting it back down. What would I even say? What was I hopping for? Friday night, Marcus dragged me to a party at one of the fraternity houses. I didn't want to go, but he insisted, and I was tired of being alone with my thoughts. The house was packed, music pounding, people everywhere. I nursing a beer in the corner, watching couples dance and groups of friends laugh, feeling like I was observing life through glass. Then I saw Drew across the room, his arm around his girlfriend, both of them glowing with that easy happiness that made my stomach twist. He caught my eye and waved. I waved back, forcing a smile. You okay? Marcus appeared at my elbow. Yeah, just tired. You wanna leave? I did. I wanted to leave, wanted to be anywhere but here, wanted to stop feeling like I was perpetually on the outside of something everyone else understood instinctively. In a minute, I said. But then Drew was crossing the room toward me, girlfriend in tow, and I had to plaster on my most convincing smile. Hey man, haven't seen you in forever, this is Sarah. Sarah was beautiful and kind and everything Drew deserved. I shook her hand and made small talk and told them I was happy for them, all while feeling like my chest was being compressed in a vice. We should hang out soon, Drew said, like old times. Yeah, definitely. But we both knew it wouldn't be like old times, it couldn't be. Something had shifted and there was no going back. When I finally escaped to Marcus's car an hour later, I felt hollowed out. You still going to the lake tomorrow? Marcus asked as he drove. I don't know. You should go. Why? Because you've been miserable all week, and thinking about seeing that cop again is the only thing that's made you smile. He was right, but I didn't want to admit it. Saturday morning came too quickly and not quickly enough. I woke at 5 before my alarm, stomach full of nervous energy. I told myself I wasn't going. Then I told myself I was just going to fish, and if Logan showed up, fine. Then I admitted I was going because I wanted to see him, and that terrified me more than anything. I drove to Silver Lake in the pre-dawn darkness, my headlights cutting through fog. When I pulled into the lot, Logan's truck was already there. My heart did that stuttering thing again. I grabbed my fishing gear and headed down the trail, but before I could reach the outcrop, I saw him coming toward me. He was in civilian clothes this time, jeans, a flannel shirt rolled to his elbows, hiking boots. He looked younger without the uniform, more approachable, more dangerous. Morning, he said, and his smile was like coming home. Morning, you're early. So are you, he fell into step beside me. I wasn't sure you'd come. I wasn't sure either. What changed your mind? The honest answer was too complicated, so I said, the coffee. He laughed. I brought my French press this time, it's in the truck, but first I want to show you something. Show me what? You'll see, trust me. It was a loaded question, but I nodded. Logan led me off the main trail onto a smaller path I'd never noticed before. We walked for maybe 15 minutes, not talking, just moving through the forest as the sky lightened overhead. Birds were waking up, their calls echoing through the trees. Our shoulders brushed occasionally, and each time it happened, I felt that electric shock again. Finally, we emerged into a clearing I'd never seen before. It was a meadow, maybe half an acre, filled with wildflowers that were just starting to bloom. In the center was a small pond, perfectly still, reflecting the pink-gold sky like a mirror. I couldn't find words. I know, Logan's voice was soft. I found it my first month on patrol, haven't shown anyone else, but I thought you might appreciate it, for your writing. The fact that he'd remembered I was a writer, that he'd thought about me enough to want to share this place, made my throat tight. It's perfect, I managed. We stood there in silence, watching the sun rise over the meadow. And maybe it was the beauty of the moment, or the vulnerability of being in this secret place, or the simple fact that I was tired of running, but I found myself saying, I came here to figure something out about myself. Logan didn't look at me, just kept his eyes on the horizon. You figure it out yet? No, maybe, I don't know. That's honest at least. What about you, I asked, what did you come here to figure out? Now he did look at me, and his expression was so open it hurt. Same thing, probably. The air between us felt charged, like the moment before a thunderstorm breaks. I wanted to ask what he meant, wanted to push for clarity, but I was also terrified of the answer. Come on, Logan said, his voice rougher than before. Let me make you that coffee I promised. We walked back to his truck in silence, but it was different now, heavy with things unsaid. When we reached his truck, he pulled out a camping setup, French press, portable burner, fresh grounds. He worked efficiently, and I watched his hands, noticing things I shouldn't notice. The way his fingers moved, the muscles in his forearms, the small calluses that spoke of work and use. He poured 2 cups and handed me one, and this time when our fingers brushed, neither of us pulled away quickly. Can I ask you something? Logan said. Okay. That night at the party, the one your friend mentioned, what happened? My stomach dropped. Marcus told you about that. No, you just got this look on your face when you mentioned going to parties wasn't your scene, like you were remembering something painful. He was too observant, too perceptive. It made me want to run and stay in equal measure. Nothing happened, I said. I just saw someone I used to be close to, someone I'm not close to anymore. Break up. Not exactly. I took a sip of coffee, buying time. We were never together, he never knew I wanted us to be. The confession hung in the air between us. I couldn't believe I'd said it, couldn't believe I'd admitted something I'd never even said to Marcus. Logan was quiet for a long moment. Then, did you ever tell him? No, he's straight, has a girlfriend, I never had a chance. Maybe that's not the point. Maybe telling him would have been for you, not for some outcome. What would that have accomplished? Honesty, clarity, not having to carry it alone. I looked at him then, really looked at him. Is that what you did when you left Phoenix and came here? Were you honest about something? His jaw tightened. I tried to be, it didn't go well. What happened? He set his coffee cup down carefully, precisely. I was engaged to a woman I'd known since high school. Everyone expected us to get married, our families, our friends. She was great, perfect, even, but I couldn't do it, couldn't pretend anymore. My heart was pounding now. Pretend what? Logan met my eyes and I saw fear there, real, raw fear, but also determination. That I was someone I'm not, that I wanted things I didn't want, that I could be happy living a lie. The words settled between us like stones dropped in still water. So you called it off, I said quietly. 2 weeks before the wedding, it destroyed everything. My family doesn't talk to me, most of my friends chose her, the guys in my unit. He shook his head. Let's just say the military isn't the most accepting environment. I got out as soon as I could and came here. That must have been hard. Hardest thing I've ever done, but also the most necessary. He leaned back against the truck, his shoulder touching mine. You can't build a life on dishonesty, not with other people and not with yourself. I knew he was right, but knowing and doing were different things. I'm scared, I admitted, of what it means, of who I am, of everything changing. I know, I was too, still am sometimes. He turned toward me slightly. But you know what's scarier, waking up at 40 and realizing you've spent your whole life running from yourself, that you've built a life around what you thought you should want instead of what you actually want. What do you want? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Logan's eyes held mine and I saw everything in them. All the vulnerability, all the hope, all the fear that mirrored my own. Right now, I want you to come back next Saturday. It wasn't a declaration, it wasn't a promise, but it was honest, and that made it more powerful than any grand gesture could have been. Okay, I said. We stood there in the parking lot, shoulders touching, drinking coffee as the sun climbed higher, and for the first time in months I felt something like peace. That week, everything shifted. It was subtle at first, a lightness I hadn't felt in years, an ease in my body that made me realize how tense I'd been carrying myself. I wrote for the first time in months, the words flowing like they'd been dammed up and finally found release. Marcus noticed immediately. You seem different, he said Wednesday evening as we made dinner together. Different how? Lighter, like you've been carrying something heavy and finally set it down. I smiled, focusing on chopping vegetables. Maybe I have. It's the cop, isn't it, Logan? I didn't answer directly. We're just friends, we get coffee on Saturdays. And how does this friend make you feel? I set down the knife, terrified, excited, like I'm standing on the edge of something I can't come back from. Marcus was quiet for a moment, then, that sounds like exactly where you need to be. Saturday came and I was at the lake before dawn again. Logan's truck was there, but this time he was waiting by my car, 2 travel mugs in hand. Thought we'd skip straight to the hiking, he said. There's another place I want to show you. We drove in his truck this time down a series of back roads I'd never known existed. He played music low, folk stuff, acoustic and honest, and we didn't talk much, but the silence was comfortable, familiar, like we'd been doing this for years instead of weeks. He parked at a trailhead I didn't recognize and led me up a steep path. My legs burned, my breath came hard, but I didn't complain. Logan kept checking to make sure I was keeping up, his expression concerned in a way that made my chest warm. After 45 minutes, we reached the summit. The view was breathtaking, miles of forest stretching to distant mountains, the lake glittering far below. The world felt huge and small at the same time. This is where I come when I need to think, Logan said, sitting on a flat boulder, when everything feels too complicated. I sat beside him, our thighs touching. Does it help? Sometimes it just reminds me how small my problems are in the grand scheme of things, how much life there is beyond my little corner of it. We sat there for a while just breathing, then Logan said, "Can I tell you something?" Of course. That day we met, when I saw your car in the lot, I almost didn't stop. I was on my way to the next patrol area, but something made me pull in, some instinct. He paused. I'm glad I listened to it. Me too, I said. I don't want to push you, Logan continued. I know this is complicated, I know you're figuring things out, but I want you to know that whatever you're going through, whatever you're feeling, I understand. And I'm here, as a friend, or, he stopped himself. Or, I prompted, my heart racing. He turned to look at me and his eyes were so vulnerable it made me ache. Or whatever else you might want, whenever you're ready, if you're ever ready. The confession hung between us, brave and terrifying. I could feel my pulse in my throat, my palms sweating. This was the moment, the edge, the point of no return. Logan, I said, and my voice shook, I'm scared. I know. I've never done this before, never even admitted to anyone what I'm admitting right now. That's okay, there's no rush, no pressure. But what if I'm not, what if I can't? The words tangled in my throat. Logan reached over and took my hand, just held it, his grip warm and solid and real. You don't have to have all the answers, you don't have to know exactly who you are or what you want, you just have to be honest about what you're feeling right now in this moment. Right now in this moment I'm terrified. Of what? Of wanting this, of wanting you, of what it means about me, about my life, about everything I thought I knew. And he asked gently. And despite being terrified, I still want it, I still want this. Logan's smile was like the sun breaking through clouds. That's enough, that's more than enough. He squeezed my hand and we sat there on that boulder overlooking miles of wilderness, holding onto each other like we were the only solid things in a shifting world. The weeks that followed were a study in slow revelation. Logan and I didn't rush anything. We met every Saturday, hiking or fishing or just sitting in his truck talking. We texted during the week, just simple things like photos of sunrises or interesting birds he'd seen on patrol or passages from books I was reading. But something was growing between us, something I could feel every time he looked at me, every time our hands brushed, every time he smiled that particular smile that was just for me. Marcus knew something was happening. "You're glowing," he said one evening. "I haven't seen you this happy since freshman year." "I'm figuring things out," I told him. "About Logan. About everything." The truth was, Logan was helping me figure out more than just my feelings for him. He was helping me figure out who I was without fear, who I wanted to be, what kind of life I wanted to build. We talked about everything. His time in the military, my struggles with writing, his complicated relationship with his family, my fears about the future. He told me about Phoenix, about the fiancée he'd left, about the loneliness that had followed him here. I told him about Drew, about the years of confusion, about the shame I'd carried for wanting something I thought I wasn't supposed to want. And slowly, piece by piece, I started to let go of that shame. It was 6 weeks after our first meeting when everything changed. We were at the secret meadow, lying in the wildflowers watching clouds drift by. Logan had brought lunch, sandwiches, and fruit, and this chocolate he'd discovered at a local bakery. We'd eaten in comfortable silence, and now we were just existing together, the way you can only exist with someone who really sees you. "I talked to my sister yesterday," Logan said suddenly. I turned my head to look at him. "Yeah, how is she?" "She asked about you." My heart skipped. "She knows about me." "I mentioned you, told her I'd been spending time with someone from the university," he smiled. "She said I sound happier than I've been in years." "Do you feel happier?" Logan rolled onto his side, propping himself up on one elbow to look at me. "Yeah, I do." The way he was looking at me made my breath catch, like I was something precious, something worth protecting. "Can I ask you something?" he said. "Always." "That first day when you said you came here to figure something out about yourself, do you think you've figured it out yet?" I thought about it, really thought about it. "Yeah, I think I have." And I sat up, my heart pounding. This was it, the moment of absolute honesty, the moment I stopped running. "I think I've known for a long time," I said. "I was just too scared to admit it, too scared of what it would mean, how people would react, how my life would change." I met his eyes. "But I'm tired of being scared, I'm tired of hiding from myself." "What are you saying?" Logan's voice was soft, careful. "I'm saying I'm gay, and I'm saying that these past 6 weeks have been the best of my life. And I'm saying that when I think about the future, about what I want, you're in every version of it." Logan's expression shifted through surprise to joy to something deeper. He sat up, moving closer until our knees were touching. "You mean that?" he asked. "Every word. Because I need you to be sure, I need you to know what you're signing up for. Dating a cop in a small town isn't easy, being out isn't always safe or comfortable. There will be people who judge you, who say things." I reached out and took his hand, cutting off his words. "I know, and I'm scared, but I'm more scared of not trying, of letting fear keep me from something real." Logan's eyes were bright, and I realized with shock that he was fighting tears. "I've been waiting to hear you say something like that for weeks. I've been so afraid you'd decide it was too hard, too complicated, that you'd walk away before we even had a chance." "I'm not walking away," I said firmly. "I'm staying right here." "For how long?" "As long as you'll have me." And then Logan was kissing me. It was gentle and fierce all at once, his hand cupping my face like I was something breakable and vital. I kissed him back, pouring 6 weeks of wanting and fear and hope into it. My first kiss with a man, my first kiss with someone who really saw me. When we pulled apart, we were both breathing hard, foreheads pressed together. "That was," I started. "Yeah," Logan agreed. We laughed, the sound giddy and young, and then we were kissing again, falling back into the wildflowers, the sun warm on our skin and the whole world reduced to just this moment, just us, just finally being honest about what we wanted. Coming out wasn't easy. I told Marcus first, who hugged me so hard I couldn't breathe and said, "About damn time." Then I told my parents over video call, which went better than I'd feared but not as smoothly as I'd hoped. They needed time to process, they said. They loved me, they said, but I could see the shock in their faces, the adjustment they'd need to make. Logan held my hand through the call, sitting just off camera, his presence a steady anchor. I told Drew next, which was harder. We met for coffee, just the two of us, and I explained everything, how I'd felt about him, why I'd pulled away, who I was now. He listened quietly, his expression unreadable. "I'm sorry," he said when I finished. "I'm sorry you felt like you couldn't tell me. I'm sorry if I did anything that made you feel unsafe." "You didn't," I assured him. "This was about me, not you." "Still, I wish I'd known, I wish I'd been there for you," he smiled sadly. "We can't go back to how things were, can we?" "No, but maybe we can find something new, something honest." He nodded. "I'd like that, and I'm happy for you. Logan sounds like a good guy." "He is the best." The semester ended. I graduated with honors, my thesis about identity and belonging earning praise from my professors. My parents came to the ceremony, and though things were still slightly strained between us, they hugged me afterward and told me they were proud. Logan was there too, in the crowd, wearing slacks and a button-down that made him look unfairly handsome. When I walked off the stage, diploma in hand, he was the first person I looked for. His smile made everything worth it. We spent the summer together. I got a job at a bookstore in town and moved into a small apartment near the lake. Logan helped me move in, carried boxes, assembled furniture, made me laugh when I was stressed about starting this new chapter of my life. We took our relationship slowly, building trust and intimacy at a pace that felt right for both of us. We had movie nights and long drives and dinners with his sister, who became one of my closest friends. We hiked to the secret meadow and the summit overlook, creating new memories in the places where we'd first found each other. It wasn't always easy. There were people in town who stared, who whispered, who made their disapproval known. There were moments of doubt, of fear, of wondering if we were strong enough to weather the judgment. But then Logan would take my hand or smile at me across a crowded room or kiss me goodnight at my door, and I'd remember why it was worth it. All of it. It was September again when Logan took me back to Silver Lake, to the spot where we'd first met. The morning was cool and misty, exactly like that first Saturday. "I can't believe it's been a year," I said, looking out over the water. "Best year of my life," Logan replied. Then he turned to me, suddenly serious. "I want to ask you something." My heart started racing. "Okay. Move in with me." I stared at him. "What? Move in with me? My place is bigger than your apartment and you're there half the time anyway. It just makes sense." He paused. "Plus, I like waking up next to you. I want to do it every day." I felt tears prickling my eyes. "Logan, I know it's fast, I know we're still figuring things out, but I've never been more sure of anything. You're it for me, and I want to build a life with you, a real life, not just weekend visits and sleepovers." I thought about the past year, about how Logan had stood by me through every difficult conversation, every moment of doubt, about how he'd shown me what it meant to live honestly, about how he'd made me braver just by being himself. "Yes," I said. His smile could have lit the whole lake. "Yes. Yeah, let's build a life together." Logan pulled me into his arms and we stood there by the water as the sun rose, holding each other in the place where it all began. Where I'd come looking for clarity and found so much more. Where a sheriff had pulled his truck up beside mine and changed everything. "I love you," Logan whispered into my hair. It was the first time either of us had said it. The words I'd been too scared to say, too scared to feel, too scared to want. "I love you too," I whispered back. And I meant it with everything I was. 2 years later. The bookstore was quiet on a Tuesday afternoon, just the way I liked it. I was shelving new arrivals when the bell above the door chimed. I looked up and saw Logan in his uniform, 2 coffee cups in hand, that smile that still made my heart skip. "Coffee delivery," he announced. "You're supposed to be on patrol." "I am on patrol. This is a community wellness check." I laughed, accepting the coffee and a quick kiss. Mrs. Henderson, one of our regulars, smiled at us from the mystery section. "You boys are good together," she said warmly. "Thank you," Logan replied, his arm around my waist. It was such a simple moment, such an ordinary Tuesday. But 2 years ago, I never could have imagined this, being out, being happy, being loved, building a life with someone who saw all of me and chose to stay. My phone buzzed, a text from my mom: coming to visit next month, can't wait to see you both. Things with my parents had gotten better, slowly, with lots of conversations and patience, but better. They'd come around. Not everyone had, but enough people had that I felt held by community rather than isolated from it. Logan finished his coffee and kissed me again. I've got to head out, but I'll see you tonight. Where else would I be? Nowhere, he said softly, exactly where you should be. After he left, I stood at the window of the bookstore watching his truck pull away and felt a wave of gratitude so intense it almost knocked me over. For that first Saturday at the lake. For his courage in stopping. For the coffee and the hikes and the honest conversations. For his patience while I figured myself out. For choosing me every single day since. I went back to shelving books, humming under my breath, already looking forward to going home to the man I loved. To the life we'd built together. To the person I'd become through loving him. And I thought about that scared, confused kid who'd gone fishing alone a few years ago, desperate for answers. I wished I could go back and tell him it's going to be okay. Better than okay, you're going to find yourself, you're going to find love, you're going to find home. But I couldn't go back, I could only keep moving forward one honest day at a time. And that was enough, more than enough. It was everything.